do their wudu with their socks on. Some of them are just wipe their socks on. I think this is quite interesting because in Indonesia we never seen that before. When we do wudu, we just take and wipe the whole feet 3 times. So what is the dalil or basis of this one? I think. Jazakallah khairan.
Actually, wiping on hoof or socks, it's allowed. And at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they used to wipe on socks, especially at the winter time or when they are traveling. They used to wipe on their hoof. Hoof is different to socks actually. It's laser. So it's allowed inshallah until no problem. But for a person who is resident, it will be for 1 day. For a person who is traveling, it will be 3 days.
So there is a different case for who is traveling and also a resident.
Yes.
Okay.
Residents 1 day, and for traveler will be 3 days.
Okay. And maybe is there any should we have a wudu with
Of
first?
course. Before you wear the socks, you have to make wudu, and after wudu you wear the socks, and then you can wipe for 1 day inshallah.
Mungkin saya bantu mentranslatekan ya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi saya ada hal yang menarik bagi saya ketika saya sampai di Jepang. Itu beberapa orang berwudu dengan kaos kakinya sudah terpasang. Jadi dia hanya mengelap bagian telapaknya saja gitu. Ini menarik buat saya karena di Indonesia saya belum pernah lihat yang seperti ini. Jadi penjelasan dari Imam Muhsin tadi itu diperbolehkan dan tapi sebaiknya sebelum memakai kaos kaki orang tersebut sudah memiliki wudu terlebih dahulu. Nah, ketika dalam kondisi seperti itu kemudian setelah itu dia batal dan ingin melakukan wudu lagi, bisa hanya dengan membasuh kakinya saja yang sudah pakai kaos kaki. Nah, ada aturan perbedaan kalau misalnya dia sedang dalam perjalanan itu bisa untuk 2 hari untuk melakukan hal seperti itu. Tapi kalau untuk 3 hari. Tapi untuk yang stay berada di rumah itu cukup 1 hari saja.
Telapak atau punggung?
Imam said, which part of the foot we can?
The upper part.
The upper part. The upper part. So the bagian atas kaki ya, bukan bagian telapak. Saya koreksi lagi. Apa ada pertanyaan lagi?
There is a saying of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. He said, if we take the deen by our opinions, we should wipe the under, not the upper. Okay? But it's deen, we have to take it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he used to do like this from up, not from down. Yes.
Jadi yang disampaikan Imam Muhsin, jadi yang dicontohkan oleh Rasulullah SAW itu yang dibasuh adalah bagian atas. Gitu. Yang kita ikuti adalah sunnah dari Rasulullah.
Maybe I would like to make additional question regarding to the hoof, because I heard that maybe some people in some countries said that the hoof should be from leather or anything that can be that water can't go through. So they say that it's only for leather, but for like this one, the fabric one, it's not considered as hoof. What's your opinion about this one? And also, maybe it's the kind of question. Maybe some people still don't understand what should we do if we forget whether we are if we had already made wudu or not. Should we make a new wudu or maybe we can continue?
According to the Hanafi madhab, they are very strict for using the laser, as you said. But actually, from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu anything covering the foot can be considered as خوف also we can wipe on it inshallah. Yeah, the second one you said.
Maybe some people still like don't understand or don't know whether, because I know that if we are not sure whether we still have wudu or not, we should continue our salat without making a new wudu.
Yes, usually we have one rule in Sharia that if you are not having yaqeen about something, then go ahead. So if you have doubt that you made wudu or not, at that time you go as you already made wudu, inshallah.
Mungkin tadi untuk yang ditanyakan adalah kalau misalnya kita ragu atau bingung apakah kita sudah ada wudhu atau belum sebelum kita menggunakan kaos kaki itu, apakah kita harus wudhu lagi atau bagaimana? Jadi dari jawaban dari Imam Hussein adalah ketika kita punya keraguan atau doubts itu sebaiknya laksanakan sebagaimana kita sudah punya wudhu gitu. Jadi tidak apa-apa yang langsung saja yang
Pokoknya sampai yakin betul.
Sampai yakin betul bahwa kondisi kita ini sudah berwudhu atau tidak. Oh iya, lalu pertanyaan sebelumnya itu terkait apakah harus yang berbahan kulit atau yang berbahan fabrik untuk kaos kaki. Untuk mazhab Hanafi mereka sangat strict untuk hal itu. Tapi secara umum para imam besar lainnya memperbolehkan apapun yang mengcover, yang menutup kaki. Jadi secara umum tidak apa-apa. Apakah ada pertanyaan lain? Untuk akhwat, kalau ada yang ditanyakan, ada mic di atas ya, bisa langsung dipakai saja.
There is also one question I got a few days ago about someone after he finished the salat, he discovered there is some najis in his clothes. So at that time, what he has to do? We have one rule in Sharia that if you discovered some najis in your clothes after salat, no need to repeat the salat. Okay.
Jadi ada satu pertanyaan juga yang sampai ke Imam Hussein. Ketika kita sedang sholat, lalu selesai sholat, kita baru menemukan bahwa pakaian kita ada najisnya. Nah, mungkin banyak juga yang suka bingung, apakah saya harus pulang sholat saya. Jadi dalam hukumnya, ketika kita sudah menemukan ada najis dalam pakaian kita setelah sholat, tentu harus kita bersihkan dulu pakaian kita dari najis, tapi tidak perlu untuk mengulangi sholatnya. Karena dari contoh yang diberikan oleh Rasulullah SAW, dia ketika menemukan ada hadas di pakaiannya, dia bersihkan lalu dia lanjutkan untuk sholatnya kembali.
Even if a person, for example, he discovered there is some najis in his clothes, but he forgot. After that, he forgot and he prayed with the najis. He forgot that there is some najis. This person also will be no need to repeat the salat. His salat will be inshallah valid.
Bahkan ketika kita sebenarnya sudah sadar bahwa baju kita itu kotor, tapi kemudian lupa dan tetap sholat, baru ingat lagi setelah sholat, itu kan sering ada kasus seperti itu ya. Itu pun tidak perlu diulang lagi sholat. Kira-kira ada pertanyaan lain soal terkait taharah dan bersuci? Okay.
So I have one short question. What is the fiqh and also your opinion regarding performing the wudu with the mineral water?
Mineral water?
Yes.
It's a tahir. What is the problem?
Because I heard there's like someone who said that doing the wudu using mineral water is not allowed. It's prohibited.
Why they're not allowed? Why?
Because one of the reasons of the volume of the water is not sufficient. Not sufficient.
The volume.
Atau volume
Volume.
lebih ke mubazir ya mas.
Yes.
Sahara.
Because we find that there is a minimum volume for make wudu, like
Like some liters or
yes.
You are talking about using the water itself.
yeah. But specifically using mineral water.
It's water, okay. So if it is water, there is no problem for using it. It's a tahir. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Jadi ada pertanyaan terkait apakah boleh menggunakan air mineral biasanya dalam bentuk botolan seperti itu ya untuk wudhu atau tidak gitu kan. Karena ada pendapat yang mengatakan bahwa volume air yang dipakai untuk wudhu itu tidak cukup hanya satu botol gitu. Tapi jawaban dari Imam Husain adalah yang penting adalah kandungan air itu sendiri gitu. Selama air itu tahir, bersih, tidak ada masalah soal menggunakan air itu untuk bersuci. Silakan jika ada pertanyaan berikutnya.
Okay, maybe I will ask some additional question then regarding the how about using snow to make wudu, to make tahara, and how is the procedure? Is it same as we use water using snow?
Okay. Maybe your question will be more practical if we talk about making tayammum. Can we use the snow for making tayammum or not? Actually, if it is like block, like one block snow, at that time it's not allowed. But if it is yes, like
The soft one.
at that time we can use it.
And how to, shall we make it like a tayammum or shall we make it like ordinary water?
If you can make it ordinary water, it will be better to make it water from max.
No, I mean like the procedure using snow. Is it like we make it as we make a tayammum for dust, or maybe
Same.
dust not by using like water?
No, it will be the same. If you use it for tayammum, it will be the same way.
So maybe I want to confirm. So if the snow is like it's still in the shape of the snow, we can use it like usual procedure of tayammum.
Yes.
But for wudu, maybe if the water come from the snow, we can use it like usual wudu.
Yes. Fine.
Jadi pertanyaannya adalah ini menarik karena walaupun di Osaka nggak terlalu banyak salju ya. Bagaimana sih prosedur bersuci menggunakan salju gitu? Umumnya kalau misalnya salju ini dalam bentuk yang padat, misalnya kayak semacam balok es atau segala macam, ini kita berbicara dalam hal tayamum ya, itu tidak bisa digunakan untuk tayamum. Tapi ketika kita bicara soal salju yang lembut, yang masih bisa dibentuk, ya itu kita bisa menggunakan itu untuk bersuci. Nah, kalau misalnya kita menggunakan salju dalam bentuk itu untuk tayamum, prosedurnya sama seperti prosedur tayamum pada umumnya. Tapi kalau untuk wudu, kan lebih baik jika kita sudah salju itu sudah dalam bentuk airan, lalu kita gunakan untuk berwudu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In winter, especially in a very, very cold weather, is it allowed to substitute wudu into tayammum?
Not to make wudu, but to make tayammum.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, the cold weather is not one reason acceptable in Sharia to make tayammum. Okay. So you have many ways to use the water, even in the very cold time. Warm it, for example, to make it warm. But no, it's not excuse to convert from wudu to tayammum because of that cold weather.
Pertanyaan berikutnya adalah ketika sedang dalam musim dingin yang kondisi benar-benar sangat dingin gitu ya, mungkin seperti sekarang gitu kan ya, apakah boleh kita nggak usah berwudu aja, kita pakai tayamum aja? Nah, untuk hal ini kondisi dingin itu tidak ada, bukan salah satu dari dalam hukum syariah itu kondisi yang membuat kita boleh bertayamum. Jadi bahkan dalam kondisi dingin pun kita bisa mengakalinya, misalnya kita panaskan airnya, kita hangatkan. Tapi kondisi dingin itu tidak bisa jadi alasan kita untuk tidak berwudu dan malah bertayamum.
Tapi totalnya 1000 pas.
One book, Imam Hussein, but I heard in the hadith, well, maybe I will make sure that when Amr bin As, I think, become the leader of a battle, the general of water, I forget because he make, he make tayammum instead of ghusl because he made like some wet dreams, and then
But it is different. It was Muslim. Muslim in the whole body. Okay? So it was very cold. So using the cold water for washing the whole body, it will be too much risky. That's why he made tayammum, and it was accepted by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
so tayammum
But for
also.
wudu is different. When you make wudu, it will not harm your body, same as if you wash it.
So it means that the tayammum also can be substitute for making ghusl.
Yes, we Muslim. Yes.
Jadi ada tanggapan, ada kondisi sebelumnya bahwa hal itu dilakukan menggunakan tayamum ketika musim dingin, tapi itu adalah kondisi ketika ghusl atau mandi wajib. Jadi itu kondisi yang berbeda. Ketika kita wudhu itu tidak semua hanya sebagian tubuh yang kita sucikan, dan itu tidak membahayakan jika kita tetap menggunakan air di kondisi dingin. Tapi ketika kita ghusl atau mandi wajib, keseluruhan badan itu harus bersih gitu, harus tersiram oleh air, dan itu bisa membahayakan. Di saat kondisi seperti itu boleh disubstitusi ke tayamum. Kita masih ada berapa waktu untuk menerima pertanyaan lagi?
Assalamualaikum. I would like to ask regarding using mineral water to make wudu or taharat. For example, we are in the middle of trip in a car or maybe train. We have one bottle of mineral water, and then we were going to make prayer. We need to make tayammum or wudu in this case. And the second one, if like for example, if it is in the car, we can make stop by, for example, in the rest area or something. But in some cases we cannot stop in that case, and we just go ahead with the trip. So in this case, we have same for this one, water or tayammum, or wudu or tayammum in this case.
So usually tayammum when there is no water. Okay. When there is no water, we make tayammum. Okay. But if the water is available and we can use it, then we cannot make tayammum. If you are traveling, as you said, and you have like a small amount of water, so at that time there is no water at all you can use. There is no.
Yeah, just that water.
Just one bottle of mineral. Just one bottle of mineral water.
Just one bottle of mineral water.
But in the way there is no water at all.
Yeah, for example, the driver just want to just go through ahead. they don't want to stop.
If there is some water in the way, even it's like a river or whatever, we can use it for wudu. It's not an excuse to make tayammum. Yes.
So I mean, his question is if he ride by bus and the bus cannot stop. For example, we have a traffic, we have a traveling from 11 until 4 p.m. and the bus is not stopping. And can we make a tayammum in the bus and pray in the bus in this condition?
Okay, it means the bus cannot stop.
Yeah.
And there is no water to
Mm.
make wudu.
Yeah, actually.
At that time you can make tayammum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
If there is no water but one bottle of mineral water, so that's fine.
So, in the case of the bus, the vehicle cannot stop, so we can do tayammum. But in this case, the bus cannot stop, and there is no other water except one mineral water. Do it better to use this mineral water or just go to tayammum instead? Because this mineral water we keep it at first for our drink.
But can you make wudu inside the bus? Cannot. So in this case you will call it tayammum.
Jadi untuk yang pertanyaan ini adalah, ini mungkin kalau misalnya, terutama kalau di Jepang kan supir bisnya nggak paham waktu sholat ya. Ketika kita lagi traveling, bisnya nggak bisa berhenti gitu kan ya. Dan hanya ada satu air botol minuman yang kita pegang gitu. Memang betul bahwa tayamum itu adalah kondisi ketika kita tidak punya air. Tapi di saat kondisi ini kita pun juga tidak bisa menggunakan air itu, maka tayamum itu diperbolehkan. Mungkin ada pertanyaan berikutnya dari Ahwat, apakah ada pertanyaan?
Aku itu harusnya lebih banyak pertanyaan.
Iya.
Kita pernah yang bocor. Silakan Dani.
There is one question I just thought. I don't know if this is hadith or I need to remind myself again, but there is a statement that to make wudu is from water who is running water, flowing water. For example, we only have like one bag of water; it's not running at all. I mean, is it okay to use this one and just flowing into our body?
Yes, it's okay to use it for wudu, no problem. The hadith you mentioned, it's about if the water in one area and it's not moving. So at that time I cannot use this water because it's not running. Okay, but if I have like something I keep water in it, and I know it's tahir and there is nothing wrong, I can use it. Yes.
Nggak usah. Ini ada yang
I just remember one question. Is it bleeding make wudu invalid? I mean, like for example, like maybe we have like maybe some scars or maybe like pimples. Pimples like maybe just a little bleeding, not so much blood come out. For example, is it invalidate wudu? Because, is there like any condition? For example, like maybe if we make donation, blood donation, for example, is it invalidate wudu? I mean, like is it donating blood or maybe blood testing invalidate wudu or yes bleeding? For example, like if we have some blood test or
blood coming out of.
yes, or maybe just a little bit scarred that maybe just Yes.
Actually, here there are some different opinions. Some opinions said if the blood is not running from its place, so it will be no problem. Some other opinions said even it's running, no problem at all. And they have the hadith in one ghazwa of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The name of that ghazwa, ذات الرقاع. ذات الرقاع. Why ذات الرقاع means the Sahaba, because they walked long time. They walk long time, so their feet became bleeding, you know. And they used to cover it by some clothes. So they used to pray in this condition, even the blood is coming out. Okay. Yes.
Oke. Tadi soal tadi mungkin bantu tadi main. Jadi kondisi di mana kayak berdarah tuh bakal membatalkan wudhu atau tidak. Jadi ada sebuah hadis di sebuah pertempuran, what's the name? Ariko?
ذات الرقاع. ذات الرقاع.
Ariko, yang artinya sih, jadi masa itu memang para sahabat berjalan sangat panjang, sangat lama hingga kakinya tuh berdarah gitu. Tapi dalam kondisi itu kakinya cuma ditutup sama kain aja dan tetap melakukan sholat seperti biasa. Jadi ada beberapa pendapat ulama yang mengatakan bahkan ada kata darahnya pun juga mengalir pun juga masih bisa. Itu tidak membatalkan wudhu. Ada juga yang mengatakan darah yang tidak mengalir itu yang tidak membatalkan wudhu. Seperti itu.
So I want to also ask about the things that force the wudu. So I heard that there are only three things that everyone agree that everything that if things happens during it will cancel wudu, like sleeping, mentally ill, and also everything that comes out within our private parts. But there's also one thing that people have some discussion about that. There's like a touching another gender. So what's your opinion about that? And because like everyone has a different opinion about it.
Yes, as you said now, for example, Shafi'i. In Shafi'i, touching the other gender, even it's a wife, it will block the wudu. Okay. And they use the ayah, وَإِذَا لَمَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. That means if you touch the women, you have to make wudu. But for Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he took it touch even it's the appearance touch. But some other scholars, they said the meaning of touch here is not touching. The meaning here is to, if a person having the complete relation with his wife at that time, yes, he has to be Muslim. Yes.
Jadi tadi saya bertanya bahwa ada perihal hal yang membatalkan wudhu. Jadi secara spesifik saya bertanya apakah menyentuh lawan jenis itu dikategorikan sebagai membatalkan orang akan dikategorikan sebagai membatalkan wudhu. Itu bergantung dengan pemahaman dari masing-masing imam, masing-masing mazhab. Untuk mazhab Syafi'i itu memang menyentuh lawan jenis yang bukan mahram, meskipun itu kepada istri sendiri, itu dikatakan itu akan membatalkan wudhu. Sedangkan untuk pendapat imam-imam yang lain itu menyentuh lawan jenis diibaratkan ketika kita melakukan hubungan antara suami istri, itu dikatakan sebagai membatalkan wudhu. Namun ada juga pendapat yang mengatakan bahwa selama itu memberikan syahwat atau hasrat itu memang membatalkan wudhu.
Mungkin pertanyaan terakhir, kalau dari Ahmad apakah ada pertanyaan? Kalau enggak kita berikan waktu. Oke, mungkin dari Ikhwan apakah ada pertanyaan terakhir? Hah? Apa? Terjemahinnya boleh, silakan.
Kalau misalkan dari apa namanya kita terluka, misalkan kita ada bagian yang terluka di area yang harus dibasahi berwudu gitu ya, misalkan tangan gitu diperban, itu apakah jadinya harus tayamum ya atau berwudu tapi jadinya bagian yang ininya nggak dibasahin
Karena ini baru perban. Atau gips mungkin.
Ya apapun lah, jadi nggak bisa basah itu satu pertanyaan. Yang kedua sih sebenarnya tentang ini ya, lebih ke air mani, kan ada macam-macam, ada mani, ada mani, mazi dan lain-lain ya. Nah itu apa namanya, mau minta tolong dijelaskan perbedaannya apa dan mana yang harus mandi wajib gitu. Dan satu case lagi misalkan kita basah gitu ya, keluar air maninya, tapi itu bukan bermimpi karena syahwat gitu. Nah, itu harus mandi wajib. Misalkan kita lagi mimpi ya, lagi tes ujian sidang apa itu sama sensei, tapi yang keluar mani gitu ya, bahasa gitu. Nah itu perlu mandi wajib.
So I have 3 questions. Well, I hope I remember all the questions. Okay, so the first one, in case we have a scar in the area that we will need to wipe during our wudu, and then we cover the scar with a bandage or something. Is it still okay to do wudu? Because in that case, it will be covered, that area.
Yes. No problem, inshallah, as long as this cover for some injured place. If we remove it, it will maybe harm that place. So no problem, inshallah.
Jadi untuk pertanyaan pertama tidak masalah ya untuk tetap berwudu gitu meskipun ada perban. Do we need to make it wet the bandage or just leave it?
To be like normal.
Like normal. So just dibasah. So just flow the water in this. But if
Also, if it is will harm, for example, if the water will come and they will make some trouble at the time, just like a wipe over it.
just like a wipe, dibasuh saja. The second question is regarding madi, and what's the difference and which condition that require us to do the ghusl?
Of course, many have to make ghusl, this very basics. But for madi, just to clean it. And in some hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said to spread some water around this area. Yes. But it's considered najis, actually. Considered najis. So if someone having this madi, you have to clean it, okay, by water. If it is touch to some, so the clothes, the place also have to be. Here there are two opinions. To clean it by water, washing it by water completely, or another opinion, just to take some water and then to spread it on that area. So it depends on the situation. if a person, for example, can wash it without any problem, it will be better. But if a person cannot wash due to something, he can just split some water on that place.
And what maybe this is a question. What's the difference between money and mazi?
Of course, money is coming when a person having a relation with his wife, for example, or something like this, having some things and it's white and thick. White and thick is coming when a person just thinking about something. And it's not like money is coming is thick and also coming by big amount. But the money is just little and not the same characters of money. Yes.
So, mungkin itu juga sekaligus menjawab pertanyaan kedua ya. Jadi pertanyaan terakhir ya, kalau misalnya bermimpi tergantung apakah itu mani atau mazi, tapi sudah dijelaskan gitu kan. Kalau mani ya harus mandi, kalau mazi cukup bersihkan dan berwudu saja. Oke, mungkin karena dari waktu juga due of the time, so we will finish in here today. Jazakallah khairan, Imam Hussein. Okay, maybe we can close it with dua.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا شقيا ولا محروما. واهدي بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى ويسر الهدى لنا واجعلنا هداة مهديين غير ضالين ولا مضلين. وصلى الله تعالى وسلم على خير خلق محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. جزاكم الله.
So